Welcome to another video. It's your favorite math professor here, Dr. Tarcia Hubert. And in this video, we are going to talk about ratio problems. A ratio is a comparison of one value to another value. And so a ratio problem is a math question that involves comparing two or more values. So let's look at some examples of some different types of ratio problems. In our first example, if the ratio of cats to dogs is 3:2 and there are 6 cats, how many dogs are there? Okay, so whenever you have a ratio problem, this is a basic ratio problem. What you want to do is you want to set up a fraction. So our fraction is going to be the ratio 3:2. So all I need to know is that the top represents cats. I'm going to put a C, and the bottom represents dogs. And I just went in the order that it gave it to me in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this equal to another fraction, another ratio. And this one tells me if there are 6 cats, how many dogs are there? So I'm going to put 6 in the numerator because that's where the cats are in the top. And I'm just going to put an X in the bottom to represent dogs. And so this is what we call a ratio. And there are 2 different ways I can solve this, more than 2 ways, but I'm going to show you 2. The first one is I could go across and say, what do I need to multiply 3 by to get to 6? Well, I need to multiply 3 by 2. So whatever I multiply the top by, I also have to multiply the bottom by. So I will multiply the bottom by 2 as well. 2 times 2 is 4. So that lets me know that that X, that unknown in the bottom, is equal to 4, which means there will be 4 dogs. Now that's one way to solve that ratio. A second way to solve that ratio is I'm going to rewrite it, and I'm going to do what we call the butterfly method, which is we cross multiply. We multiply these 2 numbers together and we multiply these 2 numbers together. So that gives us 3 times X is equal to 6 times 2. All right, 3 times X is just 3X and 6 times 2 is 12. Now we have to solve for X. We've created a linear equation, and in order to solve for X, we got to get rid of the 3. That says 3 times X. So to get rid of a multiplication, you do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So you would divide both sides by 3. The 3's would cancel, would leave you with X, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So that's just a different way to work that problem, okay? So that's 2 ways to solve that basic ratio. The answer would be if there are 6 cats, there will be 4 dogs in that particular ratio. Let's look at another example. All right, in this second example, this is what we call a sharing ratio. It says 2 friends, Amy and Ben, they win $90 in a contest. They agree to share the money in a ratio of 2:1. How much money does each person get? Okay, so I am gonna set up a ratio on this one, 2:1. Knowing that the top represents Amy, I'm gonna put a little A right there, and the bottom represents Ben, I'm gonna put a B, and because that's the order it's given, and that's the ratio, 2:1. For every 2 parts, Ben gets 1 part, okay? So in this type of problem, a sharing problem, what you wanna do is you wanna add the parts up. So you're gonna add 2 plus 1, which is 3. So you add the parts up, and then you take the total amount that they win and divide it by the number of parts. So they win $90, so you're gonna divide 90 by 3. And 90 divided by 3 is 30. And what that gives you is the amount of each part. So each part represents $30. So that means if Ben gets 1 part, he's getting $30. And if Amy is getting 2 parts, she's getting 2 times 30, which is 60. And essentially what we did in the bottom is multiplied it by 30. 1 times 30 is 30. So that means Amy would get $60 and Ben would get $30. So that's how you would solve a sharing ratio, all right? Let's look at one more example. In this last example, this is an example of a part to whole ratio. And it says in a classroom, the ratio of boys to girls is 5:7. That means for every 5 boys, there are 7 girls. If there are 24 students in total, how many boys are there? So I'm gonna set up a ratio, 5:7. Knowing that the top represents boys and the bottom represents girls. And the way I know that is because that's the order that it was given in, boys to girls. And so this is like the last one. What you wanna do is you wanna add the total number of parts. So 5 and 7 makes 12. So what I did right here, I did 5 plus 7 to get this 12. And so now I'm gonna take the total number of students and I'm gonna divide it by the number of parts. So 12 divided by 24, or 24 divided by 12 is 2, okay? So that means each part represents 2. So now what I need to do is go multiply the top and bottom by 2. 5 times 2 is 10. 7 times 2 is 14. And so what that means is if there are 24 students, then 10 of those students are boys because that's what's in the top. And 14 of those students are girls because that's what's in the bottom, okay? And so these are a few examples of some ratio problems. Well, ratio is just comparing one value to another. And so you would set it up, and depending on what it's asking will depend on how you solve it, all right? Now, if you wanted to get some practice on these, I have created a free course. Read the description below and it will tell you how to access that free course. It costs you $0, y'all. All you have to do is sign up for the program and log into my course. I give you a code to get in the course below, and you can go in and practice all of the things that we're working on to prepare for this TSIA exam. Thank you for watching this video, and if you've been liking these videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the like button as well. I'll see you in the next video.